Morning, John. Well, here we are in another day of paradise in Pine Creek. I kind of slept in this morning. I held this whole filming up, and of course, the memory, now that I'm semi-retired, the memory is still as bad as it was when I worked every day. But we're having fun and moving ahead. We're moving into the end of the spring trout season. By the time you guys see this video, we're going to be into mid to late June, and the spring season is over. Pine Creek, as normal, it's thermally challenged, I like to say. And so if we haven't, I hope we don't have another year like last year. Droughts usually are cyclic, and they go 3 to 4 years. And last year was a terrible year. We're hoping that we don't have to face another one and have the trout face that also. Pennsylvania has a lot of great trout fishing. An awful lot of it is fished in these thermally challenged streams. So there's a lot of fishermen, there's a lot of streams in Pennsylvania, but a lot of them are thermally challenged in the summer. So if we would only fish for trout in the wild streams, there wouldn't be a lot of trout fishing in Pennsylvania. Or when you went fishing, you'd have to stand on someone else's shoulders to do it. So this project has been extremely successful, has offered tens of thousands of hours of pleasurable trout fishing for really high grade stocked trout. A lot of people say, well, there is no such thing, but keep in mind, if you fish for wild fish only in Pennsylvania, we have some great, wonderful streams, but if all of us anglers try to get on those streams, it's going to really be crowded. So we need your support to keep this operation going. If you have sent in some money or dropped it off here, thank you very much. We appreciate it. If you haven't had a chance to do it, or if you just get thinking about it now, we collect funds 12 months a year, and we would like to have your support. We had an odd fishing year this year. We started out with with crazy conditions, and they were cyclic on about a 4-day interval. We'd have 90-degree weather. 4 days later, it was in the low 20s. We had high water, low water. But I have to say, last week, and that would have been the first week of June, we had incredibly good fishing. We had blue-winged olives, we had sulfurs, slate drakes, green drakes. I didn't hear a lot about brown drakes this year, and us old people often talk about the brown drake spinner falls from back in the 60s, and they were just simply overwhelming. The brown drake kind of got wiped out in the early 80s when we went through a period of mine acid coming out of Babbs Creek. That got resolved in about 6 years, and the flies are back. Good. In fact, the green drakes this year, Black Walnut Bottom, were overwhelming. And it was never that way. We'd have green drakes down here, but the brown drake was the one in command. So at any rate, we still have the insects. Last year, that 5 months when 50% of the stream bed was exposed to just plain sun and dry rocks, I think it had an impact. The March Browns were off this year. The Hendricksons were kind of lax. The blue quills and quill Gordons early on were just kind of mediocre. But I have to say, once we got into the mid-season to late spring flies, the foxes were kind of, they weren't great, but they weren't bad. But as soon as we got into the olives and sulfurs and green drakes, it really was spectacular. So lots and lots of fish. The people that thought that there were no fish out here suddenly the last week became believers, and coming in and telling stories about, oh my God, I didn't have to move, and I just caught trout all morning. So it was really nice, because generally when we hit June, the stream changes from fishing it all day to a stream where you fish till 10:30 in the morning, then you go up the runs and you fish, and then you get started again at 3:34 in the afternoon. You pick a spot where the shadow gets on the water, and you fish till dark. But we had a week of just spectacularly good fly fishing. So at any rate, thanks for your support. This season is coming to an end. We're going into the summer season. I have to ask you, give the fish a break this time of year. They gave you some great sporting events. We had lots of fun. There will be people crowded around the mouths of the feeders catching these and snagging them and every other thing for their enjoyment. But let's just try to avoid that, and I think most of the people do. I've actually seen guides standing knee-deep in the water with clients during this period of time. So this is something, it's an attitude that we've got to break and get away from it. People know better, but they just can't resist big fish. So at any rate, thank you very much for your support. Take it easy this summer. This fall, the club has another $10,000 stocking. We haven't picked a date. We'll have to wait for the waters to come back, and they might not go away. We never know. It's a cyclic season, so in the end, we'll find out in this fall if things go as the way we would plan instead of Mother Nature. We would like to get the fish in the 3rd to 4th week of September. If you remember last year, it was still low in November. So that's life. We've had a good year. Thanks for your support. If you haven't gotten it in, we would really appreciate it. And thanks again. See you later. Thank you.